Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to G2 Gaming with the Gandhi-Man, and today we are taking a bit of a break from For Honor to talk about one of my most anticipated games of 2017, and since it's been announced, and that is Recon Wildlands. I'm going to pretty much preview this game for you guys, and I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a preview to talk about the game in case you're a little bit hesitant or wondering if you should buy this game or not, whether it's worth the money to buy. So yeah, since this is a first preview of a game that I have covered, let me briefly just go over what it's going to be like. If you've seen my reviews in the past or my Witcher 3 review, the preview is going to kind of basically go on that kind of a style. So I will go over all the information that I have and my opinions from the open and closed betas and what I've seen from other people, whether that be on YouTube or from Ubisoft themselves, and I'll talk about graphics, gameplay, and what little we know of the storyline, and then I'll talk about the overall impressions and my overall thoughts on the game. Then after that, we'll talk about the ratings of the game, because some people want to research the games and may or may not be okay with getting an M-rated game or a T-rated game or whatever, and want to know a little bit more about why it's rated the way it's rated. So that's going to be for them. But yeah, it'll follow just like my reviews, but I will not score it. I'll just talk about my opinions and whether or not I think it's worth it and all this other stuff, all the issues with it, the good things about it and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get it started. So the first thing we're going to go over is the graphic. The first thing you have to keep in mind when it comes to this game is the graphics, due to the fact that it is a Ubisoft game and the ever-lingering thought of graphical downgrade is going to be there. It's a very insignificant point in my opinion, but in the past Ubisoft has been subject to graphically downgrading some of its games that it's been showing off, especially at E3, such as like the Watch Dogs, the original Watch Dogs, and even the Division to some point, even though I didn't think the graphical downgrade from the Division reveal was as bad as the Watch Dogs reveal, and I think many people can agree with me on that. At E3 2015 and even to a point E3 2016, the game looked great. Maybe not the Division great, but nevertheless still pretty good looking. Yet everyone condemned this game to suffer the Ubisoft downgrade treatment. Now, with that out of the way, this game looks really, really good. But to be honest, it really isn't better looking than the Division, but I don't think it's worse than the Division either. You also have to consider that the world in Ghost Recon Wildlands is way different than the Division. Weather is varied, and the various regions really show off this game's graphical prowess. This game looks great at a distance and pretty good close up, as long as you don't look at some of the elements too closely for too long. This game does have a full day-night cycle and a weather system. However, with most games with a weather system, it rains too much. But that is an afterthought. All around, this game looks pretty good. And with the exception of some of the characters' animations when it comes to the command wheel and hand gestures that you give to your AI teammates, characters move well, and overall this game is definitely a very pretty game. Next topic is gameplay, and I'm not entirely sure how I feel about the gameplay yet. The quick opinion is that it's fun. In fact, I enjoy it more than the Division, but I did get slightly bored with the betas. Now, the reason for that is unknown, but I think it's because I played the closed beta and then the open beta, and because I know how the game worked by the open beta and had played through the Itaqua area already, I did not want to go through the process of getting my sync shots in the parachute again, which I will have to do again for a third time when the game releases. The gunplay feels great, and using your team's sync shot ability, whether AI or co-op, is extremely satisfying and my favorite aspect of the gameplay. Jumping out of a helicopter to infiltrate an enemy base or to a tactical area to begin your assault on your target is satisfying as well. However, the term assault is loosely used here because this game really does punish you for going in loud and taking any other option besides a stealth tactical approach. But to be honest, we as a community of gamers asked for it, especially after the Division with its bullet sponginess characters. This game does allow you to approach most of the situations any way you want, but because we are not bullet sponges and it is much more realistic, a few shots will take you down. So if you take an all-out assault approach in a higher difficulty area such as Montauk, the likelihood of failure is a lot higher. I personally don't like a lot of stealth play in games, and that's also probably another reason why I sometimes felt bored. But at the same time, I love the long distance sniper play in this game. Pulling off a very long shot was incredibly satisfying and made me feel like a boss whenever I executed one on one shot. Now, operating vehicles in this game is probably where this game is at its weakest. Now don't get me wrong, I love the huge world that it has, and it was a big factor as to why this game was so enticing for me. But the driving in this game was tedious and quite frustrating. The only real viable mode of transportation is by helicopter or quite frankly walking and running. In almost all open world games I've played with vehicles, I have preferred driving motorcycles due to their maneuverability and ease of use. But this is the first open world game where I prefer driving a four-wheeled vehicle over motorcycles. So I try to avoid driving altogether. And quite honestly, it takes away a bit of my enthusiasm for traversing the open world. Now let's talk briefly about the story and what we know from it so far. The format and structure of the story in all reality is set up to be quite weak. But the backstory and setting is absolutely awesome. I mean, you're a leader of an elite military squad tasked to go in somewhat undercover and defeat a powerful drug cartel. If you're a military brat like myself, then you understand my excitement. Who hasn't played other Ghost Recon games or watched military movies such as Black Hawk Down, Act of Valor, and other movies about elite military teams and never thought that it's cool? As of now, we don't know much about how the story will progress. We only had the ability to take out two heads of the cartel in the beta. The Montauk story was by far the better one, but we did not experience any outcomes from it. I hope that the order you take down the leaders determines the various different twists throughout the game. Because as a fluid non-linear storyline, many people will take out other leaders at different times. Mafia 3 showed this idea well. Depending on who you took out, in what order the game would react differently. I hope that if we take out the security branch first, it will cripple and weaken the effectiveness of the rest of the cartel, maybe even having them rely more on Unidad. Or if you take out their intel branch, it will take them longer to find where you are when broadcasting rebel radio messages, or something like that. If nothing else, I hope we see turmoil in the cartel on those fronts through cutscenes and other reports. I think seeing that in cutscenes is more likely than seeing an effect in gameplay. But that's about it on those three categories. I really think that this game is going to be enjoyable and fun for me, at least more so than The Division. But I doubt it will have the life as The Division or Destiny for that matter. Though PvP has been confirmed, it will definitely help, but I doubt I'll be playing the PvP aspect of this game very much at all. So now it's time to talk about the rating. I won't have a full grasp of all of this since some of what is listed is not too apparent in the betas, so I'll give you my idea of what would be wise to expect. Ghost Recon Wildlands is rated M for the following: blood and gore, intense violence, partial nudity, sexual themes, strong language, and use of drugs. Obviously, altogether, it appears this game definitely deserves its rating. This game, being the realistic shooter it is, does involve quite a bit of blood and occasional flashes of gore. On the day-to-day, this aspect is not as bad as Call of Duty World at War or any Black Ops game, where throwing a grenade or shooting an RPG would sometimes result in dismemberment. Instead, the game is more apparent in cutscenes and some set pieces such as Lyuri and El Polito's cabin basement, where they have multiple bodies on tables dismembered with blood everywhere. This also can encompass the intense violence. The intense violence is also shown in cutscenes and reports throughout the game and the world, and is your typical military warfare violence in cases of torture, also shown in the final Itaqua story mission. Partial nudity and sexual themes was a bit lacking in the beta, with the exception of bloody condoms being referred to in the mission El Polito sports car. In some of the previously released marketing for the game, such as the short film where there was a warehouse filled with multiple women working in bikinis or undergarments, so you can expect to see this location in the game as well. Then we have strong language, and this should not surprise anyone being a military game. If you've played or seen any gameplay from any recent Call of Duty game or Battlefield game, or if you've watched military war movies, then the language in this game will be nothing new. Squad members swear, your character swears, other characters in the world swear both in Spanish and in English. It's kind of everywhere, but again, like most or average military movies, it isn't overbearing. Finally, let's talk about drug use. This is also fairly obvious. I mean, the enemy is a drug cartel that produces, sells, and transports drugs everywhere. However, in the beta, though there were plenty of references, there were not many instances of characters actually using it on screen, with the exception of maybe a few reports and videos. But altogether, these factors really justifies the game as an M-rated game. And I would not recommend kids under 17 playing this game, though it is not as bad as The Witcher 3 with the ratings. But bottom line is, if you are okay with watching movies like the ones mentioned previously, then this game will be no different. Well, there you have it, everyone. All in all, I think this game will have plenty of time and content to make it worth getting. I mean, it's supposed to have over 100 missions, plus DLC and PvP. It's pretty much the typical full game package. I, for one, am excited to play the full game, and I'm looking forward to covering it on this channel further. So if you all enjoyed the video, please leave a like and a comment, and I try to respond to everyone if I can manage it. Leave suggestions on what you would like to see me cover in the future, and be on the lookout for more videos coming up. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, especially if you want more content regarding Ghost Recon Wildlands. As always, thanks for watching, adios, and peace until next time.